I'm tired of shit weasels on the internet tagging me in this meme where Nicolas Cage is a vampire and therefore he's immortal. 1, you're not funny. 2, figure out what a vampire is. 3, don't let me catch you talking shit about Nicolas Cage again.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. Now your hope and compassion is gone. You've sold out your dream to the world. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead. You're dead and out of this world.
Before we get into this, bear in mind I'm not an expert. My chart that tracks my reviews and watch order of Nicolas Cage movies stops at 51 films, less than half. Second, you're not funny. This subreddit, r/OneTrueGod, where we pretend to worship Nicolas Cage, you're not that far off from the truth. The idea that acting should suck you into the film and that you should feel like you're really there with Lady Macbeth as she's washing her hands or whatever inane crap you're doing at the time, that's baby acting. Real acting is, I'm a priest, there's a god, give me money. Nicolas Cage is way closer to that. Check out his interview about being novo-shamanic.
I've been told that all actors really hail from the early medicine men and the shamans in the villages pre-Christianity, where they would put on masks and act out and really they were probably pretty crazy, but they would go in and find answers to questions.
And then compare that to some of these quotes from The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell.
So who would have been in these early elementary cultures, as you call them, the equivalent of the poets today?
The shamans. The shaman is the person who has, in his late childhood, early youth, could be male or female, had an overwhelming psychological experience that turns them totally inward.
The One True God subreddit is closer to the truth than you think it is.
The shaman's powers are symbolized in familiars, deities of his own personal experience.
Vibrations, and who knows if it works or doesn't, but for me it was an idea of like trying to stimulate my mind or trick my mind into believing I was this character from another dimension.
And his authority comes out of a psychological experience, not a social ordination. Do you understand what I mean?
When you say that Nicolas Cage is a vampire,
I'm a vampire.
again, you're not being fucking funny because you're not fucking far off.
I'm a vampire. Kill me. Kill me.
When we look at what is a vampire, right? It's a metaphor. You're just missing the metaphor of everything.
All things are metaphors.
A metaphor for tuberculosis and syphilis.
Everything that's transitory is but a metaphorical reference.
This word vampire first appears in the English language on April 1st, 1819. It's an adaptation of a German myth into the English language. Meanwhile, everybody's getting trampled by tuberculosis, and it sits here as part of our lexicon dormant until the 1890s when the New England vampire panic when the rampaging tuberculosis and syphilis outbreaks in America brings Bram Stoker to finally debut Dracula. And from Dracula, we come to understand all of pre-modern, contemporary, and modern vampire lore. So when you say that Nicolas Cage is a vampire, if you forget the metaphor that a vampire is just a folkloric interpretation of a virus that people don't understand, you're missing the point. You're so far off from the point. You're missing it so far. You're going so high into the right with this idea that Nicolas Cage is a vampire, because Nicolas Cage is not a vampire.
I'm a vampire. I can prove it.
Nicolas Cage is a virus. Now, whenever somebody cites this idea that Nicolas Cage is a vampire, it's always coupled with this image from the 1870s that recently sold on eBay for $1 million, unaged and unaltered from that time period. As it turns out, this isn't the only image of a person who looks like Nic Cage. Here's a picture of Marilyn Manson that looks exactly the same as Nicolas Cage. here's another picture of this other dude who looks like Nicolas Cage. Just because he's a vampire doesn't mean that he gets to be in different places at the same time. Those are video cues, or visual cues for me later in editing.
For editing.
Yeah. So how do you explain this stuff? You explain it truthfully. Nicolas Cage is probably immortal. Nicolas Cage is probably a vampire in the metaphorical context because Nicolas Cage is a virus. He spreads from person to person and human to human, taking on new hosts, creating in the populace fledgling cagelings that will then proliferate themselves across the world until Nicolas Cage is all that remains. So go ahead, laugh it up. Nicolas Cage is a vampire, ha ha ha. You're not that fucking far off, asshole. Nicolas Cage is a vampire, and yes, vampires are metaphors for immortal viruses, but Nicolas Cage is the virus. He's not the vampire infected by the virus. Nicolas Cage is the pathogen. Nicolas Cage is the problem, and the solution to the Nic Cage problem, the vaccine that will cure the Nicolas Cage pandemic, it doesn't exist because we don't want it to exist, because we are all intended to become one with the cage. The R0 is low, but if you stop wearing your mask and you stop getting the booster shots every 10 years for the TRX, the Nicolas Cage vaccine, stop it. Let it happen. Become one with the Novu Shaman. Become one with the Ghost Rider himself. Become one with the man, the myth, the legend, Dracula Cage.
Wow.
Nicolas Cage was probably responsible for the New England vampire panic of the 1880s and 1890s. Nicolas Cage probably inspired Bram Stoker to create Dracula. But are you fucking funny? No. It's not funny when you stumble upon a conspiracy theory that's been lasting for hundreds, possibly thousands of years. No, you're just an asshole who thinks he's funny. Get your shit together.